We do so much work in consciousness in the quiet, don't we? I know so many of you say you don't miss the band and the loud music and all of that, so that we can really focus and do our work in love, as Suzanne said in her meditation. I was reading this story last night about this gentleman who was a multimillionaire, and his habit was to collect live alligators, and he kept them in a pool in the back of his backyard of his mansion. And he also had a beautiful daughter, and one day he threw a big party and announced, he said, "My dear guests, to the man who can swim across the pool of alligators, whoever you are, and emerge alive, you can have your choice. I'll give you $1 million, or you can have my daughter's hand in marriage." And all of a sudden there's a splash, and this guy's swimming frantically across screaming all the while, swimming across the pool, and all the other guests are clapping and cheering him on, and he gets out, and he's pretty much all together except for a few tears in his shirt. So the man walks over and he says, "Wow, that was incredible. It was fantastic, in fact." He said, "I didn't think it could be done." And he said, "Well, I have to keep up my end of the bargain." He said, would you like to marry my daughter or have $1 million? And he said, "I don't want your daughter or your money. I want to know who pushed me." Just want to know who pushed me. I want to get the guy that pushed me. All right, there we are. So we're talking this morning about the development of divine love, which is one of the chapters from Charles Fillmore's books, Talks on Truth. And in it he suggests, similar to what's in our bulletin this month, he suggests that we ask daily for love to be made alive in us. That's a great way to get up and start your day, isn't it? Let love be made alive in me. He said, the one who has made union with divine love through his inner consciousness, who lets it pour its healing currents into his soul and his body, is fortunate beyond all description. Isn't that true? I mean, when you feel love, when you're in love, you can just do anything. You feel so connected. We're encouraged to let love take up residence in our heart, but how do we do that? I mean, I think we're all loving people, but is there a way to increase, to develop, and make a greater connection with divine love? And so today what I have for us today is 3 ways that we can develop and strengthen our consciousness of love. And I know we know these, they're mostly reminders, but it just helps to not only take them as reminders, but to anchor them really in the truth of what we believe. Let them become core beliefs. And the first one is that love improves everything. No matter how perfect, love improves everything. Mr. Fillmore also reminds us love never sees anything wrong in that which it loves. If it did, it would not be pure love. Pure love is without discriminating power. Now you think about that, because people always say, "What? I don't want to be a doormat. I don't want to just love everything and everybody." But he goes on to say, love simply pours itself out upon the object of its affection and takes no account of the result. Now think about that in your consciousness. Are you able to do that? Or do you maybe need a little strengthening or tweaking there? Love pours itself out upon the object of its affection and takes no account of the result. You just love for the sake of loving. By so doing, love sometimes casts its pearls before swine. But its power is so great that it transforms everything it touches. Right? Can you spew your love in front of somebody, and it may not be that they can receive it, or they're in a place that they can acknowledge it, or whatever, but you still give it because it has such transformative power. If you love yourself, you'll perform better for you. You improve you when you love yourself. I love that line. You love yourself and you'll perform better for you, not for anybody else around you. I'm reminded of the story with one of my real estate agents. Anne was new to real estate, and she was from Ireland, and so she was just little Miss Perky, and she had this wonderful accent, and she was happy all the time, and she was very loving and kind. She listed this house for sale, and one day we were all in kind of an open, sea of desks in the office, and the seller called and began to berate her on the telephone, and he was yelling so loudly, she stood up at her desk, and she held the phone out like this, and we could hear how much he was yelling and screaming at her. And she's kind of dramatic. She's going, oh, 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 oh. But she let him finish, and then we all just stood there dumbfounded, and she put the phone up to her ear, and famous words I'll never forget. She said, "I'm sorry you feel that way about me. It's not the truth of who I am." Calmly, powerfully, she just let love disarm everything. The house did sell too that week. But, she knew who she was. She was strengthened in that. She stood firmly and powerfully in that. "I'm sorry you feel that way about me. It's not the truth of who I am." Reverend John says in his book here that I had him send us copies of, there's nothing negative about love. It is pristine, pure in form, divine love. It is perfect, absolutely flawless. This is the love that God is. By consciously tapping this source of infinite love, you change your life for the better. You feel better too, I think. Sometimes in miraculous ways. Sometimes when one begins to practice love, miraculous things happen immediately. But also, and more importantly, little by little, love does its work as we let it have its way in and through us. This great positive energy is yours to use, but do not try to force it to work. You must allow it to express itself. Give it permission to have its way in your mind and body. What you do is tune in to it through your thinking and feeling and let it express the way it wants to. Ever tried to direct love? I'm going to be loving in this situation because this is how I want it to work out. Right? I'm going to pour out my love on this because then when I do, it's going to go exactly like this. But he's saying you don't do that. You don't try to force it to work. You allow it to express itself, tune into it, and let it express the way it wants to, which sometimes is very surprising, isn't it? It leaves room for imagination and surprise. He says the more you allow love to become full in your consciousness, the less and less you will fear. Love is a positive, improving energy. It improves everything it touches. Let it touch every corner of your mind and heart, and you will enjoy its ecstasy. And then he has a quote by J. Sig Paulson, who was a longtime Unity minister, and he says, "Love never leaves you where it finds you. Even as it approves of you, it improves you." Love never leaves you where it finds you. Even as it approves of you, it improves you. So we have to allow love to have its way in our mind, in our body, in the affairs of our lives, in everything. And first it will improve us. It'll improve our thinking. It'll improve our sense of self-worth. It'll improve our sense of happiness and well-being. And then it moves through you to draw to you all that you need for your life to be successful and happy. It's a mystical energy that's all-powerful, and yet it's not an energy that we control. It's an energy that we allow in consciousness. Mr. Fillmore said, one should make it a practice to meditate regularly on the love idea in universal mind, using the prayer, "Divine love, manifest thyself in me." Divine love, let's put our hands on our hearts. Divine love, manifest thyself in me. Again, divine love, manifest thyself in me. Yes, he said there should be periods of mental concentration on love. Think about love and all the ideas that go to make love up, and they'll be set in motion. It produces such a positive love current, and it's invisible. It's mystical, it's ethereal, it's an invisible love current, but when it's sent forth, it has the power to break up opposing thoughts of hate and difficult experiences, and it soothes and heals and harmonizes. That's its power. Love improves everything. Second point, so we want to keep that in consciousness, that love improves everything. The second thing, in addition to improving it, love harmonizes. Love makes things right. It makes things right. In 1 John 4:12, Jesus says, "No man has seen God at any time, but if we love one another, God dwells in us, and his love is perfected in us." If we love one another, God's love is perfected in us. I think we practice loving each other, right? And that's where we get the feedback of how we're loving successfully or unsuccessfully, or where we could have room for improvement. To love one another requires us to turn away from the apparent faults of others and to try to understand them, knowing that they're doing the best they can, and love them where they are, just as they are. And when we see with the eyes of love, then it stops that judgment. What happens in consciousness when you're judging is you're in divided mind. You're not in union. And love is only union. And so you want to get out of divided mind. Jesus said, "Judge not," let's see, this is Luke chapter 6, verse 41. "Judge not that you not be judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and the measure you give will be the measure you get." Now this is the one, this next line of his, is where it really requires us to not see the faults of others. And he just is so descriptive. "Why do you see the speck in your brother's eye and do not notice the log that's in your own?" You think about it, you got to be looking around that log in your eye to see the speck in someone else's. He says, "You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye." And I say you won't even really have time, because the more you're working on your own log, you kind of lose all interest in the speck in your eye. I'm working on my own log here because I want to harmonize and heal and live in unity of mind and unity of Christ consciousness. There's that old saying you all know, that when you're pointing the finger at somebody else, what's happening? 3 fingers are pointing back at you. It's a ratio of 3 to 1, right? You. Yes, and you, and you, and you. 3 fingers are pointing back at you. And then there's that old saying, "Don't sweat the small stuff." And the chant comes back, "It's all small stuff." But I always add the line on, "And blessed is the one who can let the small stuff pass without comment." See, that's how we're practicing and developing love in our mind and expanding it. Is your consciousness so expansive and so inclusive that Jesus, "What is that to thee? Follow thou me." Let's look at take the log out of our own eye and let the speck in your eye heal itself, Oh yeah, blessed is the one who can let the small stuff pass without comment. I wrote in my notes, try it sometime. Something gets a hold of you and you just have to write the email. You just have to express it. You just have to tell somebody. You just have to whatever. And this is a discipline of consciousness. This is the development of divine love. When you can step back and just let love take care of it. Like Jacob wrestling with the angel, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Can you just step back and bless the experience and make it like an experiment for yourself? Just watch to see what the power of love will do in that particular circumstance. This is important because when we judge others, the second thing that's happening in mind is we're living in a consciousness of error and imperfection rather than wholeness and harmony. To judge in a condemning negative way something, again, you're back in split mind and you're in a consciousness of error thinking or imperfection. There's good and bad, there's right and wrong, there's dark and light. Love is oneness, unity, and it has clear focus, and it sees through all the discord to the other side, to the wholeness that's inherent in all things, to the real heart of the matter, to the real heart of the person, and just loves. I wrote this lesson for myself today because I've had ample opportunity to practice letting love make things right. Point number 2. I've been working on a project since last October, and it was supposed to take 10 days, and this is February, right? But in true confession, my part took longer than I thought. So I didn't finish my part until December, and so I sent everything perfectly intact in December, and then the marketing director I was working with, unknown to me, took a buyout out of the company and left over Christmas time. And I thought, well, okay. And I had a good communication with him and worked well with him. And then the tech that was helping abruptly quit at New Year's. And now the guy that's doing the part of the project that's the large part of the project, I don't communicate with easily. He's a man of very few words. I always say he speaks in bullet points, and I needed more updates than emails with 2 bullet points and 5 words total. And I called and I said, I need more hand holding. I need to be more informed and all that. And he has someone else call me, So anyway, so now we're getting into the end of January, and the project's not complete. I want to push the river uphill. I'm a businesswoman. I'm a professional. I want to make this happen, and I need to get it completed. I want to get it completed. I want to push the river uphill. So I got out Reverend John's book because I thought I just have to love through this. And so the guy of few words, let's see, I have it here, and let me see what it says. I felt frustrated, angry, anxious, disappointed. I need the word. So I pulled out Reverend John's book, Be What You Are, Love. And I haven't said this to them yet, but I think I'm going to. I know you guys love me, and I know you want me to succeed with this project, and I know you want to do everything possible to have it come to a wonderful conclusion, And I want to bless it, because blessing is love in expression, We can't be afraid to pour our love out into even difficult, especially into difficult situations, to deny the negative appearance and affirm love, to declare love's presence in our heart in our prayer time, and then when I use my thought in this way, stand back and let love come in and direct. Funny thing is, as I've been doing that, the guy that I don't communicate well with quit. And now they've reassigned me to Dan. And Dan is an angel. He talks to me. He's highly skilled. He's doing more work for me than originally I thought. And he's doing it in really creative and expansive and advanced ways. So now I have Dan. Project's still not complete. And we're going to talk on the phone tomorrow. And I'm going to just continue to love. Divine love will come. The other thing about love that we need to know in our consciousness when you're having trouble letting go and standing back is that divine love has a power that works like a machete. And it will come in and cut out anything that's not allowing harmony and order to be present in the experience. So just cut Dan right out of it. Not Dan, but cut the man a few words right out of there. So I got to work with the guy that I have great communication with and a willingness. Mr. Fillmore says it this way, in Essential Fillmore, which is the best way to read this book, is just in segments, to try to understand what he's saying. I told you last week, I've been getting so much out of this, and reading Jim Gaither's commentary about what was being said. Well, you gotta love it. Mr. Fillmore says you must not only, wait a minute, am I in the right place? I don't know if that's the right. Hold on. Oh, no, I'm not. Okay, it didn't seem right. Oh, there it is. Okay, Mr. Fillmore says, you may trust love to get you out of your difficulties. That's the development of love and consciousness, trusting. You must trust love to get you out of your difficulties. There is nothing too hard for it to accomplish for you. Not just for it to accomplish, but to accomplish for you. If you put your confidence in it and you act without discrimination, it will work for you. But do not talk of love and in your heart feel resentment. See, and I've had to watch myself on this project because I feel like I'm using love to manipulate to get my way, rather than just being in the purity of love. Are you with me? To just trust that I got to stand back and to keep my hands off of it and just let it happen. So Do not talk of love in your and in your heart feel resentment. This will bring discord to your members and rottenness to your bones. So descriptive. Love is candor and frankness. Deception is no part of love. There is no envy in love. Love is satisfaction in itself. It's an inner satisfaction that sees good everywhere and in everybody. It insists that all is good, and by refusing to see anything but good, it causes that quality finally to appear uppermost in itself and in all things. When only good is seen and felt, how can there be anything but satisfaction? And so again, we're developing this consciousness in mind of loving, not to manipulate, but just a loving trust. And once you've used love in that way enough, you know you can depend on it. You know it's going to work for you. You know that this is the truth of its power. Love is the very best we can give to anyone, regardless of what they give to us. Instead of reacting in anger or fear, it's always better to give back love. And the development of love in our consciousness is to become peaceful about all matters as quickly as possible, right? Because again, we're cultivating consciousness. It's not easy to maybe somebody cuts you off in traffic and you can let that go pretty quickly because maybe they're in a hurry or whatever. But there are other things, betrayal and dishonesty, that take a little bit more work in consciousness. Become peaceful about all matters as quickly as possible, dismissing the matter from mind and freeing yourself from any possible negative influence. And I always say we do that as best we can. You let go as best you can. Surrender it to God, put it on the altar and let God alter it as best you can, and Spirit will come in and do the rest. You don't have to get it perfect. Love doesn't ask you to be perfect. Love doesn't ask you to get it all right or have it all worked out. Just do the best that you can. And by doing that, you're not only lifting your consciousness, but you're raising a vibration of everyone around you and everything in the experience. The Buddha says, if a man foolishly does me wrong, I will return to him the protection of my ungrudging love. The more evil comes from him, the more good shall go from me. Isn't that true? The Hindu says, return good for evil, overcome anger by love. Hatred never ceases by hatred, but love. And in our book of Romans, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So the third way that we strengthen and develop love in our consciousness is by the use of our words. We call love into action. And again, Mr. Fillmore says this, the more we talk about love, the stronger it grows in our consciousness. If we persist in thinking loving thoughts and speaking loving words, we build and strengthen that consciousness of love. We've all been around the whiny, complainy person, right? And we've all been around the positive, optimistic person. And who would you prefer to be with, right? So Mr. Fillmore says, let your attention rest a few moments every day in your heart and declare silently something like, I am the abode of love, or divine love, manifest thyself in me. I am filled and thrilled with the mighty power of love. And it goes before me and straightens my way, harmonizes my way. Reverend John has a series of affirmations of love in this book, and I want to close with those. And I know he's a unity minister. They're longtime unity favorites. I'm sure you've heard some of them through the years. But let's just practice now. Let's take that moment and let your attention drop into your heart space. And just let these words fall on your heart like gentle rain on soil that needs to be nourished. And these are the kinds of ideas we want to keep in our mind to cultivate. I am a radiating center of divine love, mighty to attract my good and to radiate good to others. I am divine love in expression now. All that I think, feel, say, and do spring from divine love within me. I give love to everyone. I love myself and all people unconditionally. Love in me frees me from fear. Love in me is faith, strength, wisdom, and understanding. And that was like my agent, my real estate agent, Anne, who was able to have the strength and faith and wisdom and understanding to speak her truth back to her customer. Love in me is success energy. Divine love goes before me, making my way happy and successful. I've been speaking that one to my project, so it completes and is happy and successful. Love prospers me richly and beautifully now. Love in me is a healing energy and power. Through love, I am strong, healthy, and vibrantly alive now. Love in me harmonizes all my human relationships. Think of that one. All your friends, your family, your coworkers. Love in me harmonizes all my human relationships. And lastly, love is what I am. I am now being what I am, love. So let's just seal that for a moment and give thanks that we have unification of mind and heart. The Father and I are one. The Mother and I are one. Are one, are one, are one, are one. The Father and I are one. And we stay in that harmonizing, healing energy. It goes before us to bless, heal, harmonize, bring peace, happiness, and joy. Be what you are, love. Thank you, God. Amen.